why do I even have a house? Maybe I don't even need this because I'm traveling so much. I was always worrying about what was going on at my house when I was gone.
So this is Dan of Vagabond Awake, and today we're lucky to have Jim Craig on the call. Jim, welcome to the channel. We're delighted to speak with you.
Well, thank you for having me, Dan.
Jim, what does slow travel mean to you, and how is it different from more traditional travel?
Well, for me, I feel slow travel is where you're spending more time in a place enough that you're feeling comfortable, you start establishing a routine, that sort of thing. It's a lot different from when you're doing a typical vacation as a tourist, where that's really your focus is doing the tourism type things.
Yeah.
So this is a little different from that. And in fact, that's one thing I find that people are a little confused about when they find out that I'm a full-time slow traveler. They think, oh, you're a full-time traveler, that means you're on a full-time vacation. But that's not really what it's like. Sure, I do some sightseeing and go on tours and things like that, but the majority of the time, that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing the normal type things that we all do in life, regardless of where we are in the world. I'm washing clothes, I'm buying groceries, doing things that I enjoy doing, hobbies that I like to do, like hiking and going on long walks, reading. I do some writing every once in a while. And the other things that you enjoy doing, like, watching Netflix or going to movies or things like that, meeting up with your friends. If I happen to meet some locals or expats or other people who are passing through the area, you meet up with them for dinner or just hanging out or whatever. So, those are the kind of things that that we all do in our normal lives, and that's what I'm doing most of the time as well. So it's not a vacation, it's just daily living. Just happens to be in places that are a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting.
How did this travel fantasy start to come alive in you?
Probably early on in my life, when I was growing up, we used to do a lot of road trips around the US. I'm from the US, by the way. As I got older and became an adult, and I started doing some traveling and going outside the US. And one of the first trips that I took was to Spain. And when I went there, I was, fascinated by the culture and the architecture and everything, so different and interesting to me. So after that, I just wanted to keep going to other places and see, what are these other places like as well? And the more I did it, the more excited I was to visit new places. So while I was still working, if I had some vacation time available to me, I would use that to go travel someplace in the world and visit, as long as I could. And in the course of, while I was working, I went to at least 45 different countries. I was doing a lot of traveling, and I knew that once I retired, that was definitely something that I wanted to do as well, is to do a lot more traveling. And I think in the back of my mind, I also had this fantasy about, maybe I could travel full time, not knowing whether I really would do it or not. But it was a fantasy I had, of perhaps doing that someday. So when I retired, started, doing a lot more traveling and spending a lot more time in different places, since I was retired now and I could do that. I started noticing that I would be gone for a while and I'd come back home and it would be like about 2 or 3 weeks. And I wanted to go someplace else. I didn't want to stay there anymore. I started thinking about, why do I even have a house? Maybe I don't even need this because I'm traveling so much, So, and then the other thing too is I was always worrying about what was going on at my house when I was gone for such long periods of time. I'm afraid I was going to come back and find a bunch of, water damage, or there maybe a storm came through and, did something to the roof or something like that. So I was always worrying about that in the back of my mind too. So about 2 years ago, the stars kind of aligned and I had an opportunity to make a leap. So what I did was I sold my house, I sold my car, and I donated almost everything that I owned so that I could do that full time. And that is one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I love living this way, and the more I do it, the more I love it. On top of that, the minimalism part of it too. I didn't realize how much I would feel from that, how good that would feel, because it is very liberating to not have so much stuff and to think about stuff all the time and worry about stuff. So so that was another great thing, a nice feeling that comes from what I did. So I'm very happy that I made that leap of faith and acted on it and fulfilled that fantasy that I had, early on about full-time slow travel.
Wow, that's amazing. Slow travelers all have a different comfort zone. But how long do you like to stay in each place before you move forward to the next? And do you go home between places or you just move forward?
I tend to do about 10 to 14 days at a time in a location. Sometimes it'd be a little less. It depends on where the place is. But that's kind of what I've been doing, about that length of time. And in the future, I am planning to do slower. I'm going to be doing a slower type of a pace than that even. But that's what I've been doing so far these past couple of years. And yes, I do go back to the United States to visit family and friends on occasion, usually 2 or 3 times a year. I'll go back for a few weeks and then get back out going someplace else to travel again.
Do you think that you'll eventually want a home base, or are you comfortable slowly moving forward to the world?
Well, that's something I've kind of come to the conclusion about as I've traveled. I think when I first started, I was kind of looking for that one spot that I could retire to. So I always had my mind and my eye looking for, where is that place going to be, and thinking I would find it. But as I started traveling around, I started realizing there's not one place that I would feel happy in. Even places that I really like, after a while, I kind of want to go someplace else for a while. So I do see this is kind of my future, is to have some home bases, maybe 3 or 4, different places around the world, and just jump around between those places. And then while I'm in that home base location, I can do short trips to different places within the region, to enjoy new places I haven't been to or whatever. So yeah, I think, doing that is probably what my future is going to be, is to eventually have these different home bases. And just to clarify too, when I say I'm going to have a home base, I don't want to buy property in all of these different places. I would be renting in all of those places that are base locations, because I want to keep things simple. I don't want to be getting involved with property and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a big freedom in that when you're not worried about what the local laws are and taxes on property, or all the repairs and whether or not you get a good repair person or they overcharge you, and language barriers. I mean, to me, it's footloose and fancy free when you're renting. So I think that's a great observation also. Where are you today, and how long do you think you will stay here or there before moving on? And do you know where you go next?
If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook.
Yeah, currently I'm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I am going to be staying here for a month. So that's, I'm starting to do this longer term staying in different places. So I'm here in Kuala Lumpur for a month. And then from here, I will be going to Da Nang, Vietnam, for another month there. So I'm going to be spending 1 month in each of those 2 places. So that's what the next couple of months are looking like.
Wow, two of my favorite places in the world. I think you'll enjoy them. I certainly do. So you had some experience with healthcare outside the U.S. Tell us about that.
Yeah, actually, that's one reason why I'm here in Kuala Lumpur, is to have a health screening, which I just had yesterday, as a matter of fact. I do this on an annual basis. The first time I did it was last year, the first time I came here. And I had heard about people doing this, going to a private hospital and getting a health screening. So last year when I was coming here, I said, I think I want to try that while I'm there. Why not? See what it's like. And so I made an appointment at Prince Court Medical Center here in Kuala Lumpur. And so I went there last year to do this comprehensive health screening. And so when I went there to do it, I was just blown away. It was amazing, because it covered so many things that a physical in the United States does not cover. So things like, doing a bone density scan or ultrasound of your abdomen to make sure there's not any abnormalities in your organs and that sort of thing. And a treadmill test, stress test for your heart, that sort of thing. I mean, you could do those things in the US, but they're not part of a standard physical. You'd have to pay extra for that. And it would be thousands of dollars to do all of that, get all of that done. But here, I get all of that in this one comprehensive health screening package, and it costs $300. It's just amazing. And then the process itself is also amazing. Having just done it yesterday, I'd refreshed my memory about how it all goes. But I mean, I showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they take the blood and urine samples, and then they escort you around to the different places, all the different tests that you do, and then give you a break, go to lunch, and then after lunch you come back and meet with a dietitian to go over your results. And yes, the results are already there. It's like it's all printed out. It's in this nice booklet that they give to you. You can take home with you and everything. So it's, just several hours later, all of this stuff is there for you to go over with a dietitian. And it's like, I'd never met with a dietitian in my entire life, to discuss anything, so it's great to do that because they have a lot of great ideas about how to modify your lifestyle with respect to diet and exercise and all that kind of thing. So it's nice to get that information.
Yeah.
And then after you meet with a dietitian, then you meet with a doctor and you go over all of the results again, and talk about anything that's of concern that they noted in there. So as it turned out last year, when I had the health screening, there were some issues. I actually had an issue with my prostate, and within a couple of weeks, it got to a point where it was serious enough that I needed to have surgery.
Wow.
So I had surgery at Prince Court Medical Center right here in town, and that was an amazing experience as well. I mean, the doctors were great, very professional. The nurses and the staff were just, very caring, very kind and helpful, and everybody speaks English too. There's no language issues at all. Everybody is speaking English, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm in this nice, big private room. Even the food was good. It was amazing. And then the surgery itself went really well. I've had some follow-up appointments since then, and I'm in excellent shape now. So it worked out really well. They took care of me and got me back to being in excellent health, with respect to that. So, a lot of people in the US will say, you can't go anywhere else in the world and get the kind of care you can get here in the US. We've got the best, and having experienced it for myself, I can say, no, I disagree with that. It is very possible in places like Malaysia. Thailand is another place that's also very good too. You can get really great healthcare. It's as good or better than what you can get in the US. If I ever had to have any other kind of a medical procedure done, I would have no hesitation whatsoever to do it here. You can find some really great healthcare outside the US.
That's great. So I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. How much did that cost? Like, were you in the hospital a couple of days and you had a surgery, and what the whole thing?
I was in the hospital for 5 days. The total cost was about $6,000.
Okay. Can you imagine what that would
in
be in the
US?
US?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much it would have cost in the US, but it would, 2 or 3 times definitely more than that.
Is there anything, Jim, about slow travel that surprises you, given what we were told as children in our home country?
Yeah, I think especially, as it pertains to retirement, we're told, when you retire, you pick a location that you're going to stay in, whether that's where you currently live or, you're going to move south to Florida or whatever it is. You move to that location, you settle down, and that's where you live the rest of your life. That seems to be the traditional way to do retirement. So there are other ways. I'm not knocking anybody who wants to do it that way. If you're comfortable staying in the place where you are or wherever that place is and don't want to move around or whatever, hey, more power to you. That's great. But if you're somebody who likes to travel You enjoy seeing new places, experiencing different cultures and foods and architecture, and you want to enjoy nature, different places around the world, whether it's, mountains or deserts or beaches or waterfalls, whatever it is that you enjoy. If that's something that you enjoy doing, then I highly suggest giving slow travel a try, because it's something that it's something that would be very enriching to somebody who is already curious and likes to do the traveling and that sort of thing. And it's just such a better way to experience places beyond what you're used to doing when you're just doing vacations and that sort of thing. So you have an opportunity in retirement, especially, you've got the time to really slow down, to appreciate the places that you go to and really enjoy them, and do it, in a relaxed and slower manner. So yeah, I think it's a great thing to do. And yeah, if you have any kind of desire to travel, and see places and really immerse yourself in places, then slow travel is a great way to do it. And I highly encourage you to give it a try.
That's great. And what an adventurous life it makes. So how do you decide where to go next?
Well, a lot of times I might have read something or, heard about some place. A lot of times when you're traveling around, you meet other travelers and you start talking about your travel stories or places you've been. And sometimes you just keep hearing the same place pop up over and over again. And you're like, okay, what's going on in this place? I got to go see it for myself. So that ends up on my list of a place that I want to go visit. And then also I think weather factors into it as well. I'm not really much into cold weather anymore. I really prefer warmer weather. So if some place has a seasonal difference between, in the summer and the winter, then I'm not going to be there in the wintertime. I'll go there in the summertime, but there'll be other places I'll go during the wintertime if I'm going to do that. So that's kind of how I figure out where I'm going to go.
That's great. So the world is your oyster. So many slow travelers say they save money by slow traveling. Have you found that to be the case? And if so, why does it save money if it does?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think when I first started, I had to do my own calculations about what I thought it was going to cost. And what I found is, yeah, I definitely overestimated what I thought I was going to need. And, I guess you don't really have anything to go on, because you kind of base it on what you've done in the past with different vacations and things like that. And I think, when you tell somebody that, you could save money by slow traveling, I think they think, no, I don't believe that, because, I took a vacation last year to Rome and for a week, and it cost X number of dollars. So, you're telling me I can go for 2 months slow traveling. That's 8 weeks. That means it's going to cost 8 times as much as what I paid for that trip to Rome. I can't afford that. That's too much.
Yeah.
But the reality is, no, that's not how much it's going to cost you, because you're not going to be traveling around as much. So the transportation costs are going to be a lot less. You are probably going to stay longer in each location. And if you do that, you're probably going to get discounts on the places that you stay. Like, for instance, this place here, it's an Airbnb apartment. And because I'm staying here for a month, I got a discount on it. So it's less than what I would have thought that it was going to be. And I know you and Chung also do rentals. If you're going to be someplace for 2 months or something like that, that's even cheaper. So there are ways like that to save money on accommodations.
Yeah.
And then also, because you're not doing the touristy type things all of the time, like I mentioned, you're going to do that once in a while, but most of your days are not going to be like that. So you're not going to be spending that money every day that you did when you were in Rome, doing, go every single day, doing sightseeing and going places, spending money on tours and admissions to different places and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to save money in that area too. So all of these things all kind of add up, and you realize, wow, it really isn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be.
What are some of the places you've slow traveled?
Well, since I've started doing this in the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. So I've been, to Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. I just recently was in India and Sri Lanka. Really love that. And when I first started my slow travel, I spent 2 months in Turkey, and that was great too. So yeah, there's a lot of places like that I've been to. Still a lot of other places I want to experience as well. But that's kind of what I've done so far in the last couple of years.
And what parts of the world feel most in line with your personality, Jim?
Well, I think I'm coming to discover that Southeast Asia really fits well with me. I've been spending a lot of time here, and I think it's because I feel very comfortable here. I like the culture, the variety of different foods. The people are really great and welcoming everywhere that you go. It's very safe. All of the major cities here, they're very safe. I've never felt unsafe or in danger at any time. They're just wonderful places to be. It's very modern, and there's conveniences and everything like that. So yeah, I think that Southeast Asia is probably the most comfortable place for me. I definitely am going to have a home base in this region. Definitely, there will be at least one around here. So
such a great story and a great life you've had. And I really appreciate your coming on the channel and explaining to people that there are other possibilities they have for their retirement, because it's really eye-opening hearing your story. So thank you so much, Jim.
well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Could you please help me with something? You've probably watched our guest star interviews on our guest star playlist. I interview people that have retired overseas. They share valuable information such as cost of living, safety concerns, finding love overseas, healthcare experiences, and money problems. If you'd like to share something that you have learned living overseas, please come to vagabondbuddha.com, click the More tab, click the Contact Me tab, and tell me about what you would like to share with my channel.